It's Edge Match. Edge Match. It's Edge Match. You're at Edge Match. Edge Match. Don't miss Edge Match. Don't miss Edge Match. You're at Edge Match. Edge Match. Don't miss Edge Match. Don't miss Edge Match.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to EduMatch. So today we have a very, very special episode. I'm here talking with the one, the only, Shane Lawrence. Shane, how are you doing today?
I am good. I am very good. Thank you.
All right, fantastic. So it's great to have you here. So, you have the Ed podcast, which is phenomenal. You know, I've been listening. I've caught up on quite a few episodes. Really love it. And thank you so much for having me on last week. That was so much fun. So I just, just connecting with you, that vibe was so cool that I was just like, oh, come on, you got to be on the EduMatch show. So awesome. So tell us, if you could, just tell the listeners a little bit about your background and who or what inspired you to go into education.
Oh, I think I probably have the worst sort of teacher story ever. Because, I'd like to say, when I was little, I used to, gather all my stuffed animals around and I'd teach them. But no, none of that's true. I went to university for computer science, and I found out that I'm really terrible at it. And so after about a year and a half, I switched over to English, which I was quite good at, and it just came to me a lot more easily, that's for sure. So, and I also really like it. And got my English degree with a minor in drama, and then just kind of said, well, now what? Didn't have any idea for sort of career, what I was going to do with this thing. So I thought, well, education seems like a good idea. So I just jumped into that. And honestly, looking back, of course, I could see kind of markers in my life in terms of I've always sort of had I don't know if passion's the right word. Oh gosh, I'm just burning myself to the ground right now with my own words. But honestly, just, I've always enjoyed teaching kids. I've always enjoyed being around people who are younger than me. I think in part because I've always felt young in some ways. And maybe not when I wake up in the morning, but I've always, I have this weird thing where it doesn't matter who I meet. I always assume they're younger than me. I just, it felt like a good fit. And then, I did it. Got my degree, kind of went out in the world and found that, I was right. It's a great fit. So here I am, 15 years later. What is it? 5 o'clock now. I'm still in my classroom. Going to be here till 11 o'clock at night probably. And so it's good though. I'm happy with my life choices.
Oh, that is excellent. And I know that you're there working hard today because you're having a film festival tomorrow. Is that right?
Yeah, I'm excited.
Oh, sweet. So, if you wouldn't mind, tell us a little bit about that. Definitely excited to hear more about it.
Well, it's probably what I'm most passionate about. I teach computers and drama and film studies, and film studies is just it's the perfect distillation of everything that I'm excited about. Because it does bring in some technology, it brings in the arts, and it brings in one of my big loves, which is film. And so. So tomorrow night we are renting out a movie theater, and my film studies kids are going to be walking the red carpet, and then we do a whole show, and they get all dressed up in all their fancy outfits, and we do a whole red carpet premiere, and they show the films that they have been working on since at least day one of the course, since February. So some of them actually now are starting to write their scripts for next year's course already. So they're pretty intense.
Yeah, that is a huge deal. So it's all student driven, they write it, they produce it, they act in it, edit it, all of that good stuff? Yeah,
it's 2 courses that are combined. So my course is called Film Studies, and so that's primarily writing, directing, producing. And then there's another course, which is literally on the other side of this wall behind me here, and that is the digital media course. And so that's all sort of the tech toys side of things. So we send them out with lights and sound kits, cameras, and all this stuff. And then, of course, they do the editing over there as well. So the walls between my course and the digital media get pretty thin, especially this time of year. It's a lot of moving back and forth. And but they come together and they make these amazing film projects. And I just, this time of year, I just burst with daddy pride for my little film babies. So I love it. I love it so much.
I love that, the film baby. So that is super cool. Oh my gosh. So man, that is just making me just burst, because I'm like a radio, TV, film major, like in college. That was my major. So I'm like geeking out with you. That is amazing. So yeah. So besides film, what are some of your other educational passions? And you talked about some, but what are some other ones? Oh
no, I'm supposed to have other ones? Oh no, I'm in trouble. Gosh, my biggest passion, honestly, when it comes to education isn't tied to a course. It's not tied to content. It's tied to just seeing my kids struggle and succeed. That's honestly and that's what I love so much about the film studies thing it is so much struggle. I mean, they work. I mean, I've got a student next door right now. He's working on a film right now. And he'll be here till who knows when. And I mean, not that that's the hallmark of, what this whole thing ought to be in terms of, students staying till 10 o'clock at night. I don't know if that's necessarily healthy all the time, but at the same time, just seeing them just work hard. And I mean, I see that in all my courses, where I see kids that are just going to grab onto something and they have troubles and they have difficulties, and it's like, they push to get over it. So that's honestly what I'm most passionate about, is just trying to find, create the opportunities for students to aim at something that they're really excited about and work hard for it and get there. So that's what excites me the most. That's what, I feel like I'm talking in circles now. No, that's good stuff. So all about the process, about the process on the way to creating the product. So love that. And you yourself, you're a great role model for that, because you create so much content, like your podcast, for example. So what have been your wins, your own personal wins in terms of creating such content and connecting with other educators? So we're talking more along the lines of just teacher to teacher kind of contact here?
Well, actually, let's broaden it. So anything that comes to mind.
Oh, goodness. Okay. So my wins, I'm looking ahead. I'm looking here at like your questions. Biggest on educational connections. Oh, goodness. Honestly, I mean, okay, I am going to go with the teacher to teacher route here to begin with. At least it's connecting with, people like you, people, from all, sections of the educational realm. I mean, that's changed the way that I teach day to day. It's landed me in some pretty deep pits sometimes, because I'll see something and I'll get inspired. I'm like, great, I'm going to try that. And it's like, oh no, I don't know what I'm doing, So there's that. But I mean, out of that comes a win, because I mean, as much as I like to see my kids struggle, I also believe that, I need to struggle as well. So there are times where I'll dive into stuff and not really knowing what I'm doing, but not knowing that I don't know what I'm doing. So, there's that. And but being able to come out of that and crawl my way up to the other side and say, oh, okay, wow, I learned a lot. So I every time I talk to a new educator, there's always something new that I'm learning. And sometimes it's really small, but I mean, I think that, that's, we don't get revelations very often in our life. And that's, by definition, that's what a revelation is. So, in between all those revelations, you've got to have those little tiny moments that you just allow to kind of fill your bucket of experience. And, they're all good. They're all good, no matter how small. So I think that's my biggest win. My biggest win are the little wins that add up over time.
I love that. That is so poetic, right? Fantastic. Oh my goodness. So I love that. So your podcast, so you connect with a lot of people there. And so how did that come about? What's the story behind the Ed podcast?
It was kind of an accident, really. It started, I guess, 5 years ago when our school was going BYOD, like bring your own device. And so in the mornings, we would always just meet to chat about this and that, like me and a few other people that I work with. And inevitably, the conversation would always steer towards this upcoming implementation of BYOD. And so I just said, hey, we should make a podcast about this. And, everyone's like, yeah, we should. It's kind of like we should go to Mexico and, buy a bar and live down there. It's one of those things where, sure, we're never going to do it. But it just by total happenstance, I had two separate people give me the gear that I would need to make a podcast, just totally, including the microphone that I'm using right now. And so I just brought it into school. I'm like, okay, here we go. Let's do it. And so we started out doing a month. Well, it's not even monthly. I think we did 7 episodes in the first year, but all about BYOD. So in its former life, Ed was actually called, I hate saying it because it's such a terrible name. It was originally called Biodcast. Get it? Because it rhymes with podcasts. Oh my gosh.
I love that.
It's awful. I hate it so much. It's awful. But so we did 7 episodes of that, and at the end of it, it was just kind of tapped out. We're like, hey, we've buried this one, but I still wanted to keep going. So I just kind of over the summer, kind of rejigged the format and rethought kind of what I wanted to do, and then it became a monthly podcast where I just kind of talked with some people in the building, and then I started talking to other educators with the conversations like what we do, and that became also once a month. So I was doing 2 episodes a month, and then I started doing 2 conversations a month, and then it became weekly. So it took about, honestly, 4 years before it was really settled into what it is now. So the format is pretty much set because, like I said kind of before, I like to dive in quickly. Maybe not always knowing what I'm doing. So I've sort of learned as I go about what works and what doesn't and what I want it to be. And I'm still in the back of my mind, I have plans. I have some other, it's slowly going to morph a little bit, I think, over the next year as well as I try and implement a couple of new ideas. So we'll see.
Oh yeah. That's what it's all about, trying new things, seeing what sticks. Yes. That's really cool. Really cool. So yeah. So for anybody who might be listening right now or watching and they may want to start podcasting, what would be like a tip that you would have for them?
Oh no, this is like the worst question in the world because it's just like this list of 1,000 things and it's can be so overwhelming. Oh, what's a tip? Just do it. Just do it. It's so easy right now to start and see if you like it. Because here's the other thing is that honestly, nobody's listening. Like no one's listening. Like you can put out a podcast and you can put it out for, once a month for a year and you're going to get, a couple hundred listens maybe. Right. So maybe that sounds discouraging, but I find that very encouraging because it means you can just do stuff and you can try things. And it's not like you've got millions of people saying, oh, what have you done? Why this? And this is terrible. And it's garbage. Like, no, you've got some friends that are going to listen to it, and beyond that, it's like no one's going to swoop in and tell you to stop doing what you're doing. So it's a great way to just kind of figure it out and see if you like it, and if you do, great. And then you'll eventually start gathering an audience as you put more time into it. But yeah, to start with, just grab a phone, get Anchor or one of these, there's a couple other one of these, one-stop shop apps that'll do the whole thing for you in one go. And then, just do it. Give it a shot.
I love that. And as I was listening to you, I was kind of reflecting on my experience when I was blogging. Like if you go back and look way in the archives, like my blogs from 2013, 2014, there were a very different Sarah. Right? It was just whatever was on my mind, boom, I would put it out there. And now I feel like, okay, now that there's a little bit of, there maybe 3 or 4 eyes on it instead of one, then then I'm just like, okay, let me try to refine this message a little bit. But I love what you said about just kind of jumping in and doing it and just kind of building as you go. So
exactly. Yeah. Just, because your audience will build over time and you kind of learn what they want. And I've been doing it for 5 years and my audience is not that big, but it matters. It's starting to matter now. So we're getting there, do it because you love it too. That's the other thing. Do it because you love it, because it's not something that you should do, expecting to be, the next, Roman Mars or Mark Maron or whatever. You're not going to have the millions and billions of adoring fans right off the bat. Just do it because you want to do it.
Absolutely. Love that. Love that. I remember telling the same thing to my 8th grade basketball players. There's a 0.01% chance that any of you will make the NBA. So just play because you love playing,
Yeah. Yeah, that's the rule I've gone by even with my podcast now, because I know that if I put more time into it, I could probably build a larger audience and everything else. But I'm very cognizant of where that line is between doing it because I love it and doing it because I have to. Right? And the moment it becomes work, it's like I'm done. I don't want this to be work.
That is such a good point. That is such a good point. I was reading a book that said something similar like that, something similar to that. But yes, oh my gosh, I just want to like bask in the glow of what you just said about how you want it to be fun, you know. But when you start tying yourself to all kinds of, you know, external, I guess, for lack of a better term, I don't even have a term. So when you start tying yourself to all these external things, then it stops being as fun. So yeah.
Yeah. I mean, we you know, you and I both know we've got enough work to do. We don't need more.
I feel you on that. But you have like a huge voice and a huge platform. So I know that, you know, your show is amazing and widely recognized. So absolutely want to give you your props on that.
Thank you.
Definitely built something amazing. So kudos to you on that.
Thanks.
Yeah, absolutely. So I was kind of low-key cyber stalking you to prepare for the show.
Absolutely.
And I went to your LinkedIn page and I saw Bearded Chicken Productions. So what exactly is that?
I know I saw that question when you said to me, I'm like, oh no. So this is, I got to remove that. That's a vestige of a previous lifetime. So way back in the day, like literally I think about 10 years ago, I mean, I went to film school, came back, and so there was a period where my wife and I, we actually formed a small production company with the aim, honestly, of just testing the waters of creating narrative film. So we worked at that for about a year, sunk a lot of time and money into it. And made some headway. We weren't backsliding at all, but we found that at the end of that year, we kind of stopped and said, "Is this really the life we want to live?" Because I mean, I'm sure you know, Sarah, like working in film is an extremely demanding job. It's very, very demanding. So, and I mean, I was working full time and doing this as well on the side. So it's before we had kids, but I mean, we were working all day, and then we'd go out all night, and we'd be networking and schmoozing and producing and writing and getting cast and crew together for this project and that project, and writing grant proposals and the whole bit. And it's extremely time demanding. It's a job, and it wasn't as much as I love film and I love making film and I want to continue making film. I mean, when my kids are a little older, it's kind of on hold for now. At the same time, it wasn't the life that we wanted to live. So we just kind of put them in the back burner, and only actually this past, I think about 6 months ago is when we actually finally dissolved Bearded Chicken Productions. So yeah, but that's the story behind Bearded Chicken.
Okay, I hear you on that. I hear you, and that makes sense. Like that takes a lot to know, when it's season for this, and when that season is, over, and when it's time for it to come back around. So that's definitely a lot of personal insight. So
yeah, and it took me a while. I mean, because I had to kind of admit that in some ways it was a failure. It really was. I couldn't make it, but without more time invested in it. And so but I'm like 100% I'm happy with the decision, and honestly, like with the film studies program, the way we run it, I mean, I am excuse me, I'm a teacher, but I mean, to the students, I'm a teacher, but really my role is executive producer. Right, so I'm overseeing production of all your films. I'm the one who puts out all the big fires. I will help you see it through to the end. So when people ask me if I'm a filmmaker, I'm like, yeah, I still am. I produce a good 20 plus films every year, so.
Totally. Oh my goodness. Absolutely. So that is wonderful. I'm so happy to see when people like live in their purpose. That just really, makes me happy to see that, because that is happiness, right?
It is. And I am happy. I'm tired right now, but I'm happy.
I feel you on that. Yeah, sometimes happiness is tiredness.
Yep, absolutely.
Yeah, definitely. Okay, so this has been like really, really cool, and I've just loved hearing about your passions, about your history, where you've been. So let's talk for a second about where you're planning to go. So what can we expect to see from you in the near future?
In terms of just
anything that might be like, anything that you might have upcoming in the next few months.
Well, I mean, I've got my 100th episode coming up, so that's so that's going to be fun. We're going to do something a little bit different for that one. And in terms of, what I'm putting out into the universe, honestly, that's the big thing. I wish I had a better answer than that. I feel like that's kind of it. I'm just going to keep on moving along with the podcast. I don't want to say too much. It's not like I've got some sort of Avengers Endgame level of stuff coming out, but I want to start sort of expanding the scope a little bit of Ed as we move forward. So you can watch for that, but I mean, we'll see. It's also going to take a little extra time to do it. So again, that sort of line between fun and work, I don't want to cross that. So we'll see.
Yes, I hear you. That's amazing. 100 episodes. So kudos to you. And I'm excited. I'm going to stay tuned and see what's coming down the pike. So I know it's going to be amazing. So I can't wait.
Well, I love your optimism.
I mean, always, that's what I've been seeing so far from you. Just great things. So definitely looking forward to more. So.
Awesome. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. So how can people connect with you online?
Well, the easiest way is Twitter. I'm just at the Ed Podcast, so that's obviously number one. And I mean, from there, my podcast is hosted on theedpodcast.podbean.com. If I ever get off my butt, I'll get a real website. But again, work fun, so we'll get there. Yeah, that's number one. Just over on Twitter.
Awesome. Well, that is excellent. Thank you so much, Shane, for coming on and chatting with us today. It's really been a blast, and thank you to everybody who's watching. So this will be out as an audio podcast as well as a video on YouTube and Facebook and all of the great places. So we're going to go ahead and put that on there within the coming weeks. So definitely wanted to give a shout out to Leslie Fagan, who will be moderating this week's Tweet and Talk coming up Sunday, 6 p.m. Eastern. So awesome sauce. So everybody, thank you so much for tuning in and have a great rest of your week.
It's Edge Match. Edge Match. It's Edge Match. You're at Edge Match. Edge Match. Don't miss Edge Match. Don't miss Edge Match.